Welcome, folks. I've decided to do a special 4th of July Schonkered retro wrestling podcast or YouTube show, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I don't care. Today I sat around and I watched the 1988 WCW NWA Great American Bash, and then followed that up with the WWE's version, the 2008 Great American Bash. I'm just going to give a quick comparison and contrast to see. Not going to go over match by match on each one of them. Just going to kind of briefly go over my thoughts on both of them, and let you know how I think wrestling has changed between 1988 and now. Now, while I was watching the 1988 and 2008, I was drinking not one, not two, here, where's the other one? But 3 large imperial ales. The first was the Waterloo Imperial Ale, also known as the Beer of Bravery. Then the second one was the Martin's IPA, Belgium's finest IPA, and then finished it off with Korsendonk Peter Double Ale. So, and then for this review, I busted out, where do I get it? Booker Small Batch Bourbon. So, yeah, I'm pretty schnockered, and this ought to be really, really interesting to see how this really goes. Oh, fuck, does that burn? Okay, so, start off with, like I said, I started watching, I did the 1988 WCW NWA Great American Bash, and overall it was a pretty good show. They had a couple of interesting things, a few screwy finishes here and there, a lot of screw job finishes between most and in all the matches, but it started off with Sting and Nikita Koloff taking on Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard for the NWA Tag Team titles, and a great opener considering all the individuals in there, and you had J.J. Dillon out on the ring apron for the Anderson and Blanchard as the 4 horsemen there. So it was a good, hard-fought back-and-forth match. It did end up, the Anderson and Blanchard end up retaining after Sting had Tully Blanchard in the Scorpion Deathlock, but time ran out. Sting didn't realize it. He thought they'd won the titles. And that, my friends, is how... Oops, sorry, fuckers. Alright, that set pretty much the tone for the rest of the evening on how a lot of the matches were going to go. Then you had another tag match. It was the Midnight Express with Jim Cornette, Bobby Eaton and Stan Lane, beautiful Bobby and sweet Stan Lane, versus the Fantasticks, Tommy Rogers and Bobby Fulton. Now, the stipulation in this match was that Jim Cornette was going to be put in a straitjacket and suspended from the top of the ring in a cage. So this was for the U.S. tag titles. Now, if the Fantasticks won, because they had the tag titles, this was a tag titles versus 10 lashes with the belt. So if the Fantastics would win, they get Jim Cornette in the ring and get to give him 10 lashes with the belt. And if the Midnight Express win, of course, they're going to win the U.S. tag titles. A really great match back between these two. If anybody who's ever watched any of the Fantastics and Midnight Express's matches, this is a good example of the chemistry they had and how great they were. Finish saw that what was it? Stan Lane had a chain hidden in his trunks. He managed to get it to Bobby Eaton, who lays out Bobby Fulton, I believe is who it was, while the ref's being distracted on the outside with the other two, and they win the tag titles. Cornette pre-match was great, watching him just scream and holler and act like a little bitch like he did so well back in the day. Then they lowered the cage with him in it. The Fantastics did manage to grab a hold of him and whip him with the belt anyway, but they did end up losing the tag titles. Again, like I said, this is the way most of these matches did end up, with rather screwy endings. You also had the Tower of Doom match, which TNA wishes they could come up with something like this. This was one of the more ridiculous stipulation matches I've ever seen. It's a 3-tiered cage with 2 5-man teams. You start off with each team climbs a ladder to the top of the cage, the very top of the structure there. You've got a small cage that just barely holds maybe 2 men. And then after 2 minutes, the referee in that cage opens up a trap door for 10 seconds, and then the opponents, the 2 wrestlers, have a chance to go down to the bottom or to the next cage, and then they get two more people in, and then this goes on until the last person of whichever team makes it to the bottom cage and gets out of the cage. It's a really ridiculous, I mean, I can't really explain it. You have to watch this to see it. To me, it was a really ridiculous match, because to win it, you're basically screwing over your own tag team partners by getting them in 2-on-1 situations a lot. The teams, if I can, I don't even remember who the fuck was in it. It was just a crazy match. Anyway, this was mainly a match to further a feud between Kevin Sullivan and Jimmy Garvin. So Jimmy Garvin had, I think, Dr. Death Steve Williams, his brother Ronnie Garvin, who the fuck else? I don't remember who else was on his team. And then you had the Road Warriors were on the first team, and then you had Kevin Sullivan, the Varsity Club, which was Mike Rotundo and who the fuck? Mike Rotundo and I think the Steiner brothers. I think it was just Rick Steiner. It might have been both Rick and Scott. I don't remember. And then you had the Russian Assassin, which is a black masked 6'8", giant wrestler, and I don't remember who. As I said, I'm pretty Schonkered at this point, so it doesn't matter who the fuck was in it. Just needless to say, Ron Garvin was the first one to get out of the cage for his team, which plays into later in the show. And then they do fighting back and forth on all of them. Eventually, the Garvin team does win when Jimmy Garvin escapes, gets out of the cage. Oh, in the bottom cage is Jimmy Garvin's manager, Precious. That's what's playing into this whole thing. So the last two participants were Jimmy Garvin and Kevin Sullivan, and Precious is in the ring. And the whole deal was, who was Precious going to go with? Was she going to side with Kevin Sullivan? Was she going to side with Jimmy Garvin? She does allow Jimmy Garvin to escape, and then Kevin Sullivan, being the asshole heel that he was, managed to lock the cage with him in there and starts trying to beat the crap out of Precious, choking her with the chain. So these guys all have to climb up to the top of the cage and then go all the way down to try to stop him. It was a massive clusterfuck of a match that really shows you what their mindset was at that time. Then I think the next match was the I don't know, the next match of note. Yeah, Dusty Rhodes versus Barry Windham for the U.S. title. And this was a pretty good match, really good back and forth between the two of them. They were playing up that Dusty was Barry Windham's mentor, and that he had turned his back and joined the Four Horsemen. So another good back and forth, but again marred by a screwy ending where Dusty he threw Barry Windham off the top rope but knocked out the ref. He went to do his big elbow drop finish. Ref being unconscious, Dusty turns around to try to wake him up. All of a sudden, Ronnie Garvin runs out and is like, "Hey, I'm here to help." So Dusty's telling him to go wake up the ref. He turns around and Ronnie Garvin just lays him the fuck out, allowing Barry Windham to get the win and retain his U.S. title. The only other really big match of note, because I don't remember the rest of the card. There was only a couple of really notable matches, but the main event was Ric Flair versus Lex Luger for the NWA title. Now, throughout the evening, they had been mentioning all along that they were in Maryland, and the Maryland State Athletic Commission was in the building to overwatch everything and make sure everything was on the up and up, or so, whatever, and played that up. And that's what played into the end of this match. At one point towards the end, Luger gets busted open, and he starts going hog wild on Flair, slaps the torture rack on him, but all of a sudden one of the athletic commissioners gets up on the ring ropes pointing out to the referee to stop the match. Luger thinks he's won the title, but no, Luger was deemed unfit to continue due to the loss of blood. Again, a great show overall. I mean, it's a fun little nostalgia show. I do highly recommend going and checking it out, but just realize it is WCW NWA, so there's going to be a few screwy finishes here and there. It was an overall great show, but just go into it prepared, knowing what you're watching. Then I watched the 2008 Great American Bash with the WWE version of the Great American Bash. Another really interesting show. It did show a real difference in wrestling philosophy in the intervening 20 years. So this show was held during the initial brand split. So you had this was a joint WCW or Raw, SmackDown, and ECW show. So you had 3 separate quote brands on there. Oh fuck. And you also had 3 separate commentary teams. So the SmackDown commentary team was JR and Mick Foley. The Raw commentary team was Jerry Lawler and Michael Cole. And for the lone ECW match, you had Taz and Mike fucking Adamle as the commentators. And it really shows you the state of the WWE at the time. There were some really good matches, but there was a lot of really screwy stuff going on also. One of the matches of note that I really remember, you had Matt Hardy versus Shelton Benjamin, for the U.S. title. That was a SmackDown titles at the time. So you had JR and Mick Foley doing the commentary, and JR's trying his best to still put over how great the U.S. title is at this time, and they were constantly mentioning that in the 23 years of the Great American Bash that the U.S. title had never actually changed hands. Whoever walked into Great American Bash walked with the title, walked out with it. That I'll give them that. I don't know for sure. Like I said, the only other show I watched was the 1988. So there was at least 3 more before the one I watched. But yeah, it's WWE. What the fuck you gonna do? Who cares? But it was a good, really good match, and this was Shelton Benjamin had just looked like at this point he'd probably just turned heel and was doing his gold standard gimmick, and a good back and forth here, and a lot of good near falls here and there. But eventually, Benjamin countered. I think Matt Hardy went for a top rope leg drop or something. Benjamin got his knees up, countered, hit the pay dirt, which was the jumping reverse STO, whatever the fuck you want to call it, move. And he was the first person to, in 23 years of the Great American Bash history, as far as anybody fucking cares, to actually successfully defeat a current U.S. champion. Then there was also a fatal 4-way tag match. And to show you the really, really lack of depth of the tag division at the time, you had the Miz and Morrison going in as the tag champs. You had Jesse and Festus. You had Hornswoggle and fucking Finley. Let me repeat that. Finley and fucking Hornswoggle were going for the tag titles. And, Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins were also in this match. You barely recognize Zack Ryder. He had his long hair back then, and this was pre-woo-woo-woo Zack Ryder that you know of right now. So that was your tag division back there, folks. I think the only people still employed by WWE right now out of that entire match would be The Miz, Festus, who's now Luke Gallows with the club, and Zack Ryder. I think those are the only three that are still actually employed with the WWE at this point. A nothing match. It was what it was. But for whatever reason, they decided that Hawkins and Ryder needed the tag titles. So Hawkins and Ryder managed to pull out a win by, I want to say they ended up pinning Finlay after a bunch of shenanigans, but it doesn't matter. Hawkins and Ryder end up winning the match. Then they also had the inaugural WWE Divas title match. This was when they had just introduced the Divas title, so Raw would have the WWE Women's title and SmackDown would have the WWE Divas title. An interesting match, I would say. You had Natalya Neidhart before she started wearing the pink and black and being with the Hart Foundation and everything. She was wearing this really interesting looking blue one-piece thing that did not do her any favors, versus Michelle McCool, who everybody now knows as Mrs. Taker. A good little... It didn't last long. It was about a 5-minute match at the most, but they played it more as a submission MMA style match, if you would, with it. It was really off-putting, really strange the way they did it. But Michelle ends up winning with a heel hook, of all things, on Natalya. So they were really playing up the MMA. So I'm thinking at the time UFC had probably just started getting to gain traction and everything, and they were trying to build up the MMA version, or their wrestlers were starting to use different submission moves and things like that. It was what it was. Interesting to see Natalya way back when she had first started, and she also had red hair for some reason. I never remember her having red hair, but yeah, she started off with red hair. Again, it was really just a short 5-minute nothing of a match, but it was just unique for what it was. See, what all else did you have? You had a CM Punk versus Batista for the World Heavyweight title, which was... Oh, hold on. Before I get to that one, I forgot. Before that match, I can't believe I forgot this. You had the ECW title match. Mark Henry being accompanied to the ring by Tony fucking Atlas versus Tommy Dreamer being accompanied by Colin Delaney. Now, those of you who've never watched the original WWE ECW whenever it first started, Colin Delaney was a short-lived character, a scrawny little fuck that got his ass beat on a regular basis. That was his whole gimmick. He'd come out and just get destroyed by people. Every week he would come out with more and more bandages. It was ridiculous. One interesting little history note, he actually did have an action figure. To this day, I kick myself for never ever buying it. I saw it once. He had his own action figure with I want to say the World Heavyweight title as a accessory, which is the closest that fucker will ever get to any wrestling gold ever. He was this... I don't know what the fuck they were thinking with him. So, they've been building up throughout the weeks leading up, this Colin Delaney just coming out and getting destroyed by everybody. And then I guess in the show prior to the ECW show prior to this pay-per-view. Mark Henry laid him out or some bullshit, whatever. So he was there to lend moral support to Tommy Dreamer. Now, anybody who knows anything about ECW and knows anything about Tommy Dreamer knows the fucker never wins a match. And this was no exception. He's going against Mark fucking Henry, of course, for Christ's fucking sake. Yeah. So it was a short little match, but at one point they teased Tommy Dreamer had made a big comeback. He had climbed to the top rope. He was going to do... I don't know what the fuck Tommy Dreamer was doing on the top rope. Nobody never knows what the fuck he's going to do on the top rope. But swerve! Colin Delaney turns heel, yanks his arm, knocks him off. Mark Henry splats him with the World's Strongest Slam, and 1, 2, 3, that's over. I have no idea where the fuck that went, or after that, I don't really fucking care. You would have thought Vince fucking Russo was booking that match for whatever the fuck that was. But, yeah, it was what it was. Then you also had CM Punk versus Batista for the World Heavyweight title, which was the Raw title at the time. But you would think that would be the main title, with Raw being the big show at the time. But everybody forgets that Triple H was on SmackDown for that brief period. So, CM Punk had won the Money in the Bank. He won Money in the Bank. Edge, I guess they'd done their draft thing. Edge starts talking shit about, hey, I'm leaving with this title to SmackDown. Nobody can do shit to me. Fuck you all, whatever. Batista comes out and just lays him out because he's like, he was the number one contender for the title, and Edge was like, fuck you, no, I'm getting the hell out of here. You ain't getting my title. So, Batista lays him out. CM Punk runs out, cashes in Money in the Bank. He lays out Edge with a go to sleep, pins him, and he wins the World Heavyweight title. This was a pre-Straight Edge Society, so he still had his long hair and was still pretty much a face going into this show, even though he had started showing a little bit of heelish tendencies going in. So I guess on Raw he comes out and he starts congratulating himself and thanking Batista for laying out Edge. He's like, well, thank you for laying him out so I could get my easy pickings. So Batista's like, well, screw you since you did that, and I want a shot at your title. So that leads to this match. And another screwy... It was another good back and forth match, good contrasting styles. I'd forgotten exactly how good Batista actually could be when working with smaller guys like a CM Punk. Punk and Batista did have really good chemistry, but the match was again cursed with the Great American Bash. Let's have a screwy fuck you ending for everything. And Kane runs out for whatever fucking reason, lays out Batista and lays out CM Punk. At this point, Kane is still carrying around this mystery bag. It's like, why won't you die? Nobody knows what the fuck's going on. If I remember right, I think it was supposed to be Rey Mysterio's mask in the bag, and he was going to be feuding with Rey Mysterio, but it never, if I remember right, it never really paid off. Nobody really gave a shit, and they just completely dropped the storyline eventually. So all you got out of it was Kane screwing up a world title match. Woohoo! Then you have JBL versus John Cena in a New York street fight. Now, this match, where do I fucking start? This was a match that was predicated on JBL legit trying to murder Cena a few times. And Cena, I guess, JBL had cost Cena a Intercontinental title or some shit, and Cena had cost him a title. Here's what it was. JBL, for whatever reason, on an episode of Raw, that Raw had no authority figure at the time, so he declared, quote, martial law and said he was going to take over, and had John Cena escorted out by his, quote, personal security, bunch of indie jobbers, whatever, and he went after went after CM Punk's World Heavyweight title. But eventually Cena does make his way back with Crime Time, and he costs JBL the match. So JBL is pissed at him, and he decides he wants to... literally, at one point, he tries to murder Cena. He meets him in the parking lot, beats him down, throws him against a car, and then you see Cena laying his head against he's sitting on the ground with his head against the car door, and JBL flat out tries to run his fucking ass over. Just flat runs into the car that Cena's laying against. Now, you don't see Cena there, so the implication was that he rolled out of the way, and JBL goes, I was just trying to scare the fuck out of you, whatever. So, Cena's like, screw you, I want a New York street fight. We're gonna have this New York street fight. Or New York parking lot brawl, I think is what it was officially called, or some bullshit like that. It was one of those matches that started out in the parking garage. You have a bunch of cars in a circle. JBL pulls up in his limo looking for Cena. He climbs on top of the car. Cena rams another car into there. They start beating the fuck out of each other. The real interesting thing about this is the first 3/4 of the match, there's no commentary. This is all... no commentary out in the parking lot, kind of reminiscent of the Mankind Rock Empty Arena match where they didn't have any commentary. So it did kind of take away from it. You never really realize how much commentary does affect a match until you try to watch one without commentary. So they start beating the fuck out of each other back and forth. And for a second time, JBL tries to straight up murder John Cena. He lays John Cena out inside a car. Cena's out unconscious. JBL goes to his car, gets a can of fucking gasoline, pours it all over the car, and lights the fucker on fire. So now you've had JBL twice try to legit murder John Cena. And people talk about how Lucha Underground is ridiculous with some other shit as far as people doing stupid stuff like that. But yeah, you had fucking JBL legit try to set John Cena on fucking fire. Oh shit. So Cena gets out of the car, beats him down, throws him in another car, and then in another really overly convoluted, screwy, fucked up thing, he gets a forklift, drives the forklift into the car JBL's in, lifts it up, drives it all the way into the fucking arena. So JBL's unconscious for the entire 10 minutes this fucking takes. Whatever. Oh God, was this fucking... Oh God, was this retarded. then they make it into the arena. Why Cena didn't just try to fucking pin him outside in the parking lot? 'Cause JBL did do that a couple of times. He legit, they were trying to get pinfalls out in the parking lot. So you could do that. Why fucking Cena decided he had to drag JBL into the arena to do this? Who fucking knows? Cena's fucking stupid at this point. And this is post-Thugonomics John Cena. This is whenever he just started getting all of his different Fruity Pebble colors and everything, and he was wearing the 8-bit John Cena shirt for this. So he eventually beats down JBL some more, grabs him for the FU, which is what they were still calling it at that time. It was still called the FU, not the AA. This was pre-PG WWE, as noted by JBL trying to fucking murder him multiple times. So Cena takes his time and he's like, you know what? I gotta drag his ass. I'm going to carry him all the way over to the side of the ramp and do an FU on top of the car. So, of course, JBL manages to wiggle his way free, throws John Cena through the fucking windshield of another car, and pins him on the windshield. And JBL wins the fucking match. Okay. I'm guessing this was when they were just prior to him probably winning the world title or something at this point. I don't fucking know. They were really still trying to build JBL up as this super heel, and they fed Cena to him, of all fucking people. Which, now, looking back, looks really fucking ridiculous, but hey, whatever. It was what it was. And then your true main event. You have Edge challenging Triple H for the WWE title. Now, this was built up with Edge trying to weasel his way into a title shot, and he was going to marry Vicky fucking Guerrero. If anybody remembers this crap, oh, I feel sorry for you, because I'm old and stupid, and I remember this shit, and I tried to block it out. But anyway, Edge at the time was he was still in his ultimate opportunist gimmick, and he decided he was going to seduce Vicky fucking Guerrero. I still can't believe this shit ever fucking happened. He decided he was going to seduce Vicky Guerrero and marry her so she would grant him this WWE title match. Well, Triple H, being the, quote, cerebral assassin that he is, managed to get some hidden camera footage of Edge and his wedding planner. Oh, you don't know who his wedding planner was? Let me remind you, it was Alicia fucking Fox. Yes, that Alicia Fox is still wrestling right now. Foxy. She debuted as a fucking wedding planner for Edge and Vicky Guerrero's wedding. Oh, fuck me. I can't believe some of this shit. Oh. Anyway, Triple H has hidden camera footage of Edge putting the moves on Alicia Fox that he just so happens to show at the episode of SmackDown, okay, that Edge and Vicky are trying to get married at. And of course, Vicky goes nuclear and beats the fuck out of, or slaps the shit out of Edge and everything, and gets all pissed off at him and yada yada yada. So it was still a good match again until the Great American Bash, fuck you, screwy ending. And this time, the screwy ending of the night was Alicia Fox running out and stopping Triple H from hitting a pedigree or something. Vicky Guerrero running out and attacking Alicia Fox, and then Edge, they played up, he looked like he was going to try to spear Alicia Fox, but ends up spearing Vicky Guerrero, lays her out, turns around, gets a pedigree from Triple fucking H. 1, 2, 3, nuclear pedigree, yay. Triple H wins again. So, yeah, the Great American Bash, as far as a pay-per-view, didn't really evolve that much. As far as every match, almost every match on every show had some kind of screwy fucking finish. It was fun for what it was, but in 20 fucking years, you would think things would evolve. And yeah, no. But anyway, well, that's my thoughts on the Great American Bash 1988 and 2008. Once again, for the plugs, make sure you check out Joshua Baker's Beer and Song of the Day, Kevin Sherman's Heavy Metal and Booze, Glenn Snyder's Talking About, Justin Dimmitt's Prosper, and above all, make sure you check out the greatest wrestling podcast that I've ever been on the network with Richard Strasberg and Tyler Stegall. Well, folks, that's it for this. I'm going to be looking up at the lights again, taking the 1, 2, 3 after doing the JOB, and Kompai, as they say here in Japan.